The administration now has a whole class of people who come out of the internet world, more or less, one way or another. They really understand the internet. How's that class doing in the administration?
Well, I think we're doing great. I mean, the people who you could say came out of the internet class were actually a pretty big part of Barack Obama being elected president. And even before he was running for president, when he was a senator from Illinois, this was very much a part of who he was, and it was very much a part of the community that surrounded him. He's really built a pretty big and pretty strong ecosystem of innovators and of internet-savvy people around him. And the headline is so far so good.
So you're being listened to. So in particular, let's say in the State Department, which you know rather well. Are you, in the worst case, the internet is taken as a sort of subsidiary means of communication? Well, yeah, let's also put it up on the website. In the best case, it's being used in more imaginative ways. Along that spectrum, how's it going?
I would say that, first of all, the State Department has more than 30,000 people. So among those 30,000 plus people, there are lots of different perceptions of the utility of the internet. At a leadership level, with Secretary Clinton and with those people who are really driving the vision of America's foreign policy, I think the view of the internet is that it is incredibly important. With 4.6 billion people now using mobile handsets, with mobile handsets becoming increasingly powerful and important, with networks having played such an important role in uprisings in places as varied as Iran, China, and Moldova, you really can't just view the internet as a tool of public diplomacy anymore. You have to view it as something that actually moves people and that moves organizations. Freedom of assembly, freedom of communication, all of these sorts of things really manifest themselves today on the internet more than anywhere else.
So what's the evidence of this? What's going on in the State Department you can point to as evidence that this is in fact occurring, that's being used this way?
Sure. Well, I'll give two very quick examples. First of all, something that on its surface has nothing to do with technology or with networks is crime in Mexico. And so one program that we're putting in place right now with the strong backing of the Mexican government and the strong backing of the State Department leadership is we're putting a program in place right now where people can anonymously report crime by text message and by email. The publicly identifiable information is stripped out. It's mapped up on a Google map. As soon as the crime reporting is mapped up, the command centers, the police, are going to have to respond in a very short time. And then depending on what they find, they then have to respond back to the map with what they found. Yes, we found 3 tins of black tar heroin. No, we got there and there weren't any cartel member gangbangers. The idea is to bring transparency and accountability into crime fighting in Mexico and to reduce cartel-related violence. And so what that's evidence of is that people are thinking of technology in this case, not for the sake of technology, but as something that can help reduce violence. Another very different example can be seen in the East Congo, where there's an extraordinarily high level of sexual and gender-based violence. In the East Congo, what we're doing is we're using telecommunications as a way of enhancing the situational awareness of vulnerable populations who are vulnerable to these roving bands of militias who come out of the Congolese hills and predate upon vulnerable women and children. And so what we're doing is we're creating a messaging system using the internet, using cell phones, so that people can have increased situational awareness about the location and the movements of these bad guys. And so there too you can see this isn't about technology, this isn't about messaging, this is about hard, tough stuff like preventing sexual violence and fighting cartels.
And Secretary Clinton's involvement in this?
Hillary Clinton's the godmother of 21st century statecraft. Without her support, none of this would happen. I think Secretary Clinton, she herself has said she witnessed the power of the internet in her then opponent Barack Obama's presidential campaign. And to her credit, she, I think more than any other cabinet secretary, has been very aggressive and very, very smart about making sure that making sure not just that we have an internet strategy, but that the internet is a part of all of our strategies, from nuclear non-proliferation, to human trafficking, to regional concerns in places like Afghanistan and Pakistan. So she's always thinking about how we can innovate and how we can maximize the potential of technology and telecommunications in our foreign policy agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.